ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to your favorite podcast, The Cinephiles IO. We're back.
I love
So,
that intro. Favorite podcast
is there a
because it
favorite
really
podcast?
is my favorite podcast.
It really is. It really is. And we've got some more listeners. Our numbers are growing, trying to get, a guest of honor on this episode. It was a bit too busy. I'll surprise them later who I reached out to, But, I was Ed, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really, you know.
Hey man,
But
you're lost.
exactly. We have great questions.
Exactly. So they're lost, man.
They're lost. But yeah, interestingly, I remember we were talking about the breakdown of our listeners, and we got some niggas out in Germany, and
Bro, it's always fucking fascinating to me when I go to see, where are people listening from? And I see some weird place.
I don't think it's all weird. I think we've interacted with people that are studying abroad, or like who came to America for study abroad. Because I know like one of our German
Yeah.
listeners is a guy I played footy with, so I
Okay.
know that one for sure. Don't know who else the other
Yeah.
like, two other people.
I mean, so I'm looking at the stats now, and the city with the most listeners is actually Frankfurt, and I don't know a single person in Frankfurt. That's why I'm
That
saying
is
that. Like,
interesting.
yeah, like that's
Very interesting.
so. Some of them, like Lagos, is to be expected. Jersey City, that's mostly me.
Yeah.
Chicago, but like there's
I
Nairobi
don't think
here,
Chicago is that
Kenya.
deep. I can't lie. I don't think Chicago is that deep. But yeah, Lagos for sure. A heavy crowd out there. And I know Canada is growing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But shout
I
out to
think
anyone
we
wherever in the world you're catching the Cinephiles out. Shout out to you. Appreciate
love
you.
you guys. Love the energy, love the vibe. And also shout out to Juba and Irima who always give like detailed reviews of our episodes. It's a great vibe seeing that people are, we love like you guys listening, but we also love the interactions a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of podcasts and questions, I think there's like a vibe these days where, I don't know, it's like, I feel like a lot of podcasts have like a little gimmick. Do you know what I mean?
Gimmick in what sense?
I don't know. It's just like a thing to like catch them. It's like, I know I used to listen to this podcast called Apes on Tape, and it used to, like, I guess, gimmick would be, what's a white woman body count? Like, that's the question. And it would, like, throw people off. And I'm just like, huh. And I'm not going to,
Oh my
like,
god.
knock on shits and gigs, because I love James and Fuad. I love that podcast. But I feel like their little gimmick is, they don't really have that many guests, but, like, their little gimmick is, like, reading funny tweets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or
Oh, I
funny
like that. I like
already.
the sound of that.
Yeah. So that's not bad. I know at one point we pitched an interesting gimmick here about like reading funny reviews from Letterboxd,
Letterboxd
like our favorite
reviews.
reviews, or
Yeah.
like reviews that we hated the most. So maybe we'll revisit that idea.
I think we should. I think especially because the app is relatively, like, it might sound not niche, but it might sound like, because we're in this bubble, we think the app is very mainstream. But bro, the average Joe doesn't know what Letterboxd is. The app
Yeah,
just got
I feel like
acquired like a few months ago,
yeah,
so it's still growing.
I feel like even the average person doesn't really even hop on Rotten Tomatoes before watching a movie. Do you get me? Yeah,
So we should do
but
that. That would be cool.
I think that would be interesting because I won't say it's going to be probably a running gimmick, but maybe just like a little segment for us because I really like our conversations a lot more than like having like a thing. Do you get me?
I feel you, bro.
Variety.
Yeah,
And
but
we have
more
interesting
questions.
conversations in general. So yeah.
How's your week?
Pretty okay. I guess a month now since we haven't really talked since Dune, but
Yeah.
pretty okay. Haven't done anything crazy. Went to watch Monkey Man with the missus, and that's just it. Haven't really done anything. Been playing footy. My knee's messed up, and I've been
Damn.
running a lot. But I think intensity training. When you go up like on your intensity for your running a little bit too quick. Yeah, my knee just it just went. It just it turned to like pulled pork. You know,
Yeah.
like
I'm
you see like
sorry.
those videos of them guys who cook like chicken or turkey crazy and it's like falling off the bone. That's my knee right now. That's my knee right now,
Yeah, that does not sound fun at all, bro. I'm sorry to hear
bro.
that.
It's really not fun. It's really not fun. What about you? How's your week going?
Mine's been good. I started. So there's a longer story here, and I'm not going to bore you guys with this theory, but I started my um binge watching the Mission Impossible franchise. Start from the beginning,
Mm,
and I'm realizing the more I watch them, well, first of all, it's one of the few franchises where each film, minus part two, the second one was terrible, horrible film. But minus part two, every film was better than the last one. And I think it's because this guy, Tom Cruise, he's a maniac, obviously. We know that. Like, people make jokes about how a film with Tom and Nolan would literally result in multiple deaths or what, or like blah, blah, blah. But that's because he's a maniac and he finds his own, like, his use favorite different filmmakers and different cast or whatever, but he finds the people that truly get his level of craziness, and then he just sticks with them until like each film is an experiment in and of itself, and then it just gets better because like if it takes what works and changes what doesn't work. But I'm on 6 now, so I have 2 more,
is
and
that
it's
what
been
you've
an
been watching?
amazing
It's Mission
what
Impossible.
Mission Impossible. Yeah,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah. So that's what I've been doing so far,
Is that like out on
and
like a major streaming service? Is that like out on like HBO
it's
or
on
something?
Paramount.
All of them on Paramount.
Yeah, all of them are on Paramount. Paramount have the best. They don't have the best films, but they have the best action. I tweeted about that show, Special Ops, that I was watching the
Yeah.
other time. I binged that in like 3 days, maybe 3 days. I mean, I have
Real
work, so I
talk.
can't
I
like stop.
think I don't know if it was on cable or if you have like Xfinity or cable, you can like watch some things on Paramount.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
Yeah,
binging that like during like winter or something like that with my like family.
yeah,
It wasn't a
yeah.
bad
They
time.
have good. Let's shift away from always giving Apple free promo. Paramount, they be cooking like when it comes to
That's
action
wild that you were just
sequences.
about to say that because I'm sitting up in my apartment right now, about to recommend a show that I watched
Oh,
casually.
God of mercy.
You already know what it is.
God
You know
of
what it
mercy.
is. It's the Colin Farrell Masterclass. It's the banger on banger. It is Sugar. If you're into
I
LA
hope they pay.
noir,
I hope they pay you, bro.
vibes, Sugar. And do you know what's interesting? Sugar ties very much into the main course of this episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
I saw Popcorn for Dinner just dropped their episode on Sugar. I haven't listened yet, but I also didn't listen because I haven't started the show. When I looked up the
Yeah, so
show,
shout
what
out
I
to
saw
Popcorn for
wasn't.
Dinner because those guys are like really, they're on it. They're
Yeah,
on
shout out
it.
Popcorn for Dinner, man.
Yeah.
Their consistency, it's like they're churning out episodes every other day, man. Like
Man, it's
that's
like, it's so
that's real
every day.
consistency.
Like, I hope
Yeah.
one day we can get to that level, can't I?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because they're really
It
pushing
also
through. And they
it
have
also
guests.
gives me this is a compliment what I'm about to say, but they also give me NSG vibes in the sense that I don't know if you see those tweets about how one man from NSG could be
Random
walking down,
guy
you
can
wouldn't
be
know
on the
because
streets to say he's part of
there's
NSG
mad
and
people, bro.
people don't know.
It's different people every episode, but it's good because it keeps things fresh. Like, and they have people that specialize in like they have people that have like subject matter experts. For
Mhm.
example, like when they're doing the Invincible or when they're doing a particular series, they have their go to person.
Yeah.
So nah, shout out Popcorn for
Yeah,
Dinner.
shout out Mikey and the crew because like real talk, they're so consistent and like just like what you said, they have I almost want to call them adjuncts that just like come in. They have like their random once in a while like new guests, like
Yeah,
fresh new, but they have like rotating specialists or adjuncts that like they tap in, come on, give you a good like season review of a show every
yep.
episode they're dropping and like a follow up. And they actually taught me something. I don't remember who said it, but I wait, was this popcorn for dinner? I feel like it was. But it was someone that told me or that brought up in the podcast that always take the penultimate episode in an action TV show as the actual final, because the final episode is always going to disappoint you. Like the
Always take the
actual finale
penultimate
is going to like
episode.
disappoint you.
Interesting. Huh.
But that penultimate, like that second to the last one,
Yeah.
right before like that
Mm-hmm.
little cliffhanger or whatever, it's like where you see like the best acting, the best dialogue, the best vibes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure. Good cook.
it's great cooking. It's
But
like the rule I live by now for like movies and TV shows. TV shows that like action.
yeah.
Pretty similar with movies also. Like the third act, like I can't judge a movie until I get to the third act,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's action.
I mean, that's where everything unravels. That's where,
Exactly.
it comes
And
together and
that's where
stuff.
you're like, okay, yeah. Before I used to wait till like the finale, but for sometimes the finale can be a bit underwhelming. But that third act, really how you
Mm-hmm.
handle that third act can really like make or break the perceptions of the film.
I agree.
Yeah.
I
All
agree
right,
with
lads.
that.
We're about almost 12 minutes into this episode, and we haven't told you guys what we're reviewing. I guess you can see from the title card. But we're going to be talking about Monkey Man and Dev Patel's directorial debut.
Man, I'm just very glad that he got to make this film because the background, what. So I think let me start off. For those who don't know, Monkey Man, it's a 2024 film, distributed by Universal, but it's Dev Patel's directorial debut. This he I guess shot it when COVID first broke out, so like 21 or so. It's been in production for a long time. Netflix acquired it for 30 million, and after they obviously screened it, Netflix execs and whatever, they felt like it was too political for them because when you see the film, I don't know if we're doing spoilers or not, but when you see the film, you see why Netflix did not want to release this, and so it was
Yeah, I
shelved.
just thought it might have been a bit political for them, especially in that 2021 landscape.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and for a long time, it was shelved, and Dev Patel was literally hawking the film around to whoever would buy it, whoever would take it, and it's kind of what's happening with Coppola's Metropolis,
Megalopolis.
whatever,
Yeah,
Megalopolis, yeah, but obviously not similar because Dev doesn't have that pool.
yeah.
Eventually, he showed it to.
Poor and Dev wasn't selling wine for 10 years to get this movie made, bro.
Yeah. Eventually, he played it for Jordan Peele, who's acclaimed director, 3 for 3 so far.
Mm.
And he liked it so much, he pushed it to Universal. Netflix acquired this for 30, Universal got it for 10, and they released it 2 weeks ago. And it's open to, in the first week, they made 10.1, so they've already made their money back.
Yeah, they made
But
money.
yes, yeah, so that's a brief background. What I was gonna say is I'm just so happy that we got to see this film because watching it, like sitting through it, you can see how much Dev really put into this.
Man,
When filmmaker actor combos, like when the director is in the cast, not on some M Night Shyamalan but like an actual lead in
like
the film.
actual being the actual lead. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's so hard. I feel like that's
it's so
so,
hard.
like you're navigating.
Don't like that. I'm dying. But yeah, go on.
No, like you're steering the course, you're navigating, you're like, trying to
Oh,
get good performances out of your fellow cast, but you're also one of the cast. It's like you're driving and you're doing the GPS and you're controlling the music and you're literally, making sure people in the back seats are well fed. Like you're just like in charge of everything. I feel like that's so hard to come through. Like I see BTSs of directors trying to show members on cast how to like read a line, like give them a line read, and they're always so frustrated. But then when you're the one in that position, I can't imagine like what that's like. But anyway, you can see how much they've really put into this role as an actor, and then as a creator, as the filmmaker, you can see all the creative choices and how. I'll talk more about this, but I just feel like I was very grateful that I got to see this, and I did not disappoint at all for me. But yeah, that's my little intro.
I think okay. So my little intro on this is that I love the movie, and I'm very grateful that we got to see it in cinema and not like
Mm-hmm.
in your house on the couch, Netflix.
On
Yeah.
Netflix, yeah.
Because the sound quality and just like if you don't have a 4K TV, I'm not gonna lie, it's I think even with a 4K TV, it's not gonna hit the same way as like being in cinema.
Yeah.
Because some of these shots
Mm-hmm.
are completely insane, like insane, like the close-up shots, like the pullback, some of like the slow mo, then transitions, like bro, like he's interacting with the environment, like the camera's interacting with the environment really well,
Yeah. Yes, it
and
is.
I think it's also like a bit of a chaotic element. But I think like to like flip into gears or switch gears into like what you were saying about the director being the lead, I don't like it.
You don't like it?
Yeah, normally I don't like it. Normally I don't like it. I think it worked for this film and it was good and it's worked for some other films. But for me, it just comes off a bit like egotistical.
I think you're like, I feel like that's an argument that you can make for Maestro and I'll see. Not Monkey
I
Man. It's
guess
not a glory piece. It doesn't feel like. I feel like when that's a,
it's not a glory piece. It's definitely. I think like yeah, you're right. Like the content of the film or the type of film is like a big
yeah,
thing because like Maestro was meant to be Oscar bait and everything. So like,
yeah,
but like, and Monkey Man was for 100% sure not going to be Oscar bait. But for me, it's just like you want to be so involved and
hmm
so in control. I don't know, man. It just feels a bit narcissistic, a bit egotistical. Like I rather have
yeah,
like a little cameo from like M Night Shyamalan or like Stan
yeah,
Lee. Like you're involved in decision making of the film and like the acting
hmm
choices, but you have enough like you can take a breather. You know,
okay,
yeah, you can take a breather and like
okay,
you can let the actors do what they want to do, or you just instruct
yeah,
them or you guide them. And then like, it's still your movie and of course you love
hmm
film. So you can sneak yourself
hmm
in a little bit. Minor,
yeah,
nothing crazy. But
okay,
yeah, to be like the lead for me, I don't know. I've never loved it in a lot of films that it's done. But again,
okay,
this movie did it really well with like the physicality of the acting. And I don't know if this is a personal story to him in terms of like both the kind of role that it is and I guess
hmm
general content. Yeah. So it's a great story and I love like I think it was shot on location. So like that's
hmm
another thing that's like really good.
yeah, hmm
And I guess like the action sequences, like the fighting and just like me, I love a good training montage. I love a good training montage, my guy.
Bro, the action sequences, that's actually, so my review said, like, started off by saying there were so many baffling creative choices in the film, and a lot of them were so, like like you used the word chaotic, and it's funny that you used that because that's a word I used to. It's like it was so chaotic. You know how sometimes, like, when there's a, like, if there's a dance scene, there will be an actual, like, choreographer, like, doing the dance, not the
Yeah.
director. I felt like this did not have someone who was well versed in, fight scenes, or maybe it did, but the person was like, maybe it's because of the way the camera was moving, because there's so many close-ups. We're not seeing like full-on body movement. It's literally a scene where the camera is zoomed in as there's a knife in someone's mouth stabbing another person, and it's like
Yeah,
you're
he
missing
pushes the
so,
knife into him.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like you're missing so much of the, the body movement, or like what's going on in the background. So I was just like baffled
Mhm.
by a lot of the creative choices. But then as I sat with it, because it's pretty long, it's like 2 hours. As
Yes,
I
I
sat with it, I realized, like, in the midst of all the chaos, that's where, like, that's the magic, like the
do.
quote unquote lack of a method to the madness, and there's a lot of madness in this. Like, that is the method in of itself. And when, like, it clicked for me that was, the baffling creative choices were the creative choice themselves, like, I was able to see Patel's vision a lot more. But yeah, the action sequences, man, especially in that bar, like the final fight, like that whole long, 15-minute run bro, sensory overload, man. That's all I felt.
I think
Because
I'm not going to lie to you. I think it's very interesting why you're bringing this up because this is one of my key points in my review of it. It's the movie was touted as Indian John Wick, not by him, but by lazy critics. It was touted as Indian John Wick, and I thought that was insane because there's nothing about this movie that gives him John Wick beyond wearing a black suit.
completely disagree, but go on, carry on.
I think very much so. It is a revenge story, but he's not a trained killer. In no
Mm-hmm.
way is he crazily experienced at killing. And that is why one of the major points of the film that literally extends the film, like the whole core of the film, extends it quite a bit,
Yeah.
happens. And another reason why I don't believe like this is anything close to an Indian John Wick is that the amount of time spent in the world building in contrast to the amount of actual fight scenes in this film,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
there are only like 2 to 3 fight scenes.
Okay.
And honestly, 2 of them happen in the same place.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think what you're trying, well, maybe not what you're trying to say, but what I'm hearing is there's more plot lines at play here than in John Wick. John Wick has just one plot line. Something happens to John Wick, and he spends the whole rest of the runtime getting revenge for that. Right?
Exactly.
There's more plot lines at play here. You know,
I
there's
think there's
the
multiple lines at play here.
yeah,
From the
but the central theme,
okay.
the central plot line is the basic John Wick story. Replace the first one, his dog,
I don't
with
think so. Reason why
replace
I
John
don't think
Wick's
so. Okay,
dog.
we're gonna drop some spoilers here, but I don't think so because the story, or especially like the chronological review of the story,
Mm-hmm.
like his revenge story starts, let's say like
The
25,
kid.
30
Mm-hmm.
years ago.
Yeah.
In comparison to John Wick's revenge story,
Because John had the ability to get vengeance at the time. He
no,
didn't have the
absolutely.
ability to get.
Well, I
Yeah.
will say this. Like John Wick's story or his revenge story is more so like, oh, let sleeping dogs lie. You woke the sleeping dog, so it's going to bite you. It's coming after you
Mm-hmm.
because you took away
Mm-hmm.
its. His story is you stole my land, you killed my mother,
Mm-hmm.
like you're basically like putting people in this like religious cult while stealing their land and impoverishing the nation, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of the unfortunate people. So I feel like it's like it's a completely different ball game. And the added benefit that he's not, and I think this is what I was trying to say earlier, but I don't think I got to this point. But him not being a skilled fighter,
Mm-hmm.
or like some kind of like, he is a skilled fighter because he's done wrestling. So like, but
Yeah.
his wrestling, he's basically a punching bag. He's for fixing the matches.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in reality, like for the film itself, like he's nowhere on the level of like a John Wick. He's not a professional killer who has killed thousands of people. He's not
That's
someone
true.
that people have like, they have songs and stories about that he's going to hunt you down,
Yeah.
stuff like this. He's one
Yeah.
guy who's like very determined and had like, a little bit of a pro wrestling, that kind of fighting career. And he's always held
Yeah.
back. We don't know how strong he was. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, you ask me, various points, he would have not gone to where he was if he did not have help. He did beat a lot of guys
Yeah.
up, realistically,
Yeah. He
but
did. Yeah. He
he
did.
could have died multiple times. And I feel like that's where you also have like some of the chaos, the less clean fight scenes, the less like, perfectly choreographed shots, and like the mistake
Yeah.
of not being able to shoot a gun because, he's more used to like, if he's killing someone, it's not like, oh, I have like this, I've bypassed all like the moral problems or like the issues.
Yeah.
I can fight you maybe if I beat you up and okay, you're trying to kill me. Okay, that's when I kill you. Because
Okay.
apart
Yeah.
from like
Yeah.
two main guys, like really and truly,
He wasn't trying to kill people.
those are the people that like I have my vengeance with. And like, yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
again, I can still kill you, but like it's like more of self-defense at this point. Whereas with a gun, it's like, okay, like I know exactly what I'm doing. And he tries that. He practices. You see him practicing and like trying to get
Mm-hmm.
over. that whole like, oh, I'm not used to having a gun, and we see him literally get his first gun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like, I think that's like the biggest difference between him and John Wick. For John Wick,
Okay.
like, yes, this is a revenge story, but at the
Uh-huh.
same in the same breath, you can really say it's like regular Tuesday for him. It's a cold night in store for him. You get me?
I mean, I like that. I like that you're choosing, or not choosing. You're, you know, you don't want it to be termed an Indian John Wick, and I think that's reductive. I just don't think it's lazy because, bro, there's literally a dog, man. Like, there's similar plot, like there's similar plot lines. There's the suits, the
He's from
killing,
Lagos. Of
like
course, he has a black suit, bro. Like, what do you mean? A black
that's why
suit you can have.
that's at the final scene, the final, action sequences. He doesn't need to wear the suit then,
He
right?
doesn't.
He doesn't need exactly. But I just feel like if there's similar themes, which there are, obviously, like you've said, we don't get scenes of John Wick practicing or learning because he's a seasoned killer, he's a
Yeah,
contract killer, he's killed hundreds of people. But here we are seeing him, fighting and boxing and, like practicing the
like
punching bag one, for
we see
example.
some of the training. We see the training one.
Yeah.
We see him
I think
almost
because
multiple times.
yeah. I think because there was this Indian film that was on Netflix like 3 years ago called White Tiger. So when this started,
No,
I thought it was going to be like what do you say?
I remember that. I remember White Tiger.
Yeah, it was like a grass to grey story. So when this started, I thought it was going to be a grass to grey story, which is funny because Patel was in Slumdog Millionaire. So like some people were saying, oh, this is, Dev Patel Slumdog Millionaire, even though he was already in that. But yeah, I thought it was going to be like another grass to grey story. And I'm like, why would he fight so much for this to be made? Like that doesn't,
Didn't
make
think it
sense.
was going to be a grass to grace story. I think it's because like
Okay.
the trailer already, like the trailer already reduced it.
I didn't see the trailer.
Really? Oh yeah, the trailer
I
already
go into
reduced,
films blind.
and I kind of knew what it was like. I knew it was going to be a fight story. I think it was going to be a
I
deep
had
action
no
story.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't expect as much of like the whole land. I forgot what it's called, but like the land acquisition thing to be as big of a plot hole,
Yeah.
a plot line
Mm-hmm.
along with like the religious cult thing and just like what happened with his
Yeah.
mother. I think one of my favorite things though was that the film wasn't they didn't make use of like sexual violence as part of like his motivators. Like his
Okay.
mother wasn't raped or anything or sold in sex trafficking. But
Yeah.
like there were certain scenes where they like, they teased you as if that was it. So you got like a little bit of like emotional reaction,
Yeah.
like what's
Yeah.
going on. Then you find out
Yeah.
what they actually did to his mother, and you're like, oh,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah. And I'm glad, just because you say that, I'm glad the other dancer, the or escort, I don't know what exactly she wasn't key to the story. I would have hated if they introduced like a love interest at that point.
I said that as soon
Um
as I got out the film. I was so
yeah,
happy that they didn't like find some random love interest for him to like fall in love with, or like, they're bonding over
yeah,
being at the bottom and like trying to make their way out.
yeah. That would have derailed it for me.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, so back to like the politics of it. Because like the similarities between the Indian Prime Minister Netanyahu or whatever his name is and the cult leader. India is like, they're plagued with this caste system that
Yep.
if you're from a lower caste, you're just treated like nothing, which is very evident in the film. But then that's not what got me the most. Like I felt like the biggest political plot line was the transgender people. Like that little what?
The Hijra.
Oh, I don't know what they're called. Yeah, yeah,
They're
those
called the
people.
Hijra. They're the institutionalized gender of India.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The whole it's literally like you're watching an episode and an episode ends and a new one starts. It's a whole shift. It's
That
a
that
whole
transition
pivot.
into like, yeah, because again, like
The screen literally goes black, bro. When he falls in the
he
water. This
drowns and you're seeing, man, honestly, I almost felt like I was drowning too because like the water, it seems like the water was basically enveloping him. I thought
Yeah.
it was going, but I was like, no, we haven't seen him in the all black suit. I'm sorry
Yeah,
to anyone who didn't notice this, but like for me, whenever it's a movie or a TV show, I'm like, there's some parts of the trailer that we haven't seen. So as soon
yeah,
as you know that, you just know the story's not over.
yeah. I did not see the
Yeah,
trailer. That's why.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's only in like
but there.
K drama that they play like insane games like that, where they leave
Mhm.
like a character that died in the intros.
Oh,
Yeah, and stuff like stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah. But
but
that pivot, it ended up making it like it became once that pivot happened, it became the soul of the film. It became the heart and soul
oh,
of the film.
absolutely.
You know, that little thing, the little thing that the drummer person was
Yeah,
doing with their
the father
fingers,
wife.
bro. It was moving me,
It
bro.
was
It was
moving.
moving me so hard. And like the punching, like playing with the punching bag, that sequence too. And I need to know what kind of physical work like Patel put into making this role.
That's what I was
But
gonna say.
yeah, I think
He
that was
said that
necessary.
he just wanted control over the film because of the
Yeah,
amount of physicality in the acting,
yeah,
like insane. The amount of things that he fell on or broke on or like had to be thrown on. Like I'm like, no, I don't think like a lot of lead actors like this. So like for him to be the director of this story and like to like say, okay, yeah, I'm going to take the brunt of because I don't think anyone received as much of like physical like fall damage and stuff like that. And you know,
no, I
maybe
don't
there
think
was
so.
stuntmen involved, but he received like quite a bit of like bruising on his arm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
it was. It's, but that's because like, so I'm when you talk about the director actor thing, I just keep going back to Creed 3, which
absolutely.
Michael B. Jordan also directed. And but the difference is, I guess Creed is more. Michael B. Jordan might be more seasoned because he doesn't set like the film is about Creed, obviously, but he doesn't set the storylines that exist outside of him. In Monkey Man, all the storylines are either like he's either directly involved or
Absolutely.
they're like
It's lined
parallel to his.
lined up to be him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so but like so I guess that's the difference. So I can see what you're saying by, it feels narcissistic, or it feels like you're taking a bunch of it because in Creed, the his op, the guy that
Jonathan Major.
Joe Majors played, yeah, that he had his own storyline. His wife had her own storyline, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
But I think that's because um for one, it's a franchise. Creed has worked with these people before. He knows like there's already source material that he has to build up on. In this case, if there was a sequel to this, let's just say there was a world in which there was a sequel to this and Patel was still to direct it, then we're going to see less centeredness around him because there's other characters that have been introduced and there's other, storylines that have stemmed from it. The transgender people have their own storyline. That his friend, the guy that was driving
Yeah,
for
I
lack
forgot
of a
what
better
his
term.
name is, like Ray or something like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. So there's other storylines, but because this is the setup and like it's a relatively unseasoned cast, like to the West, maybe in India they're big, but to the West it's a relatively unseasoned cast. Like the brunt of the work had to fall on him,
I
you
think
know.
it's interesting that you say that because I don't feel like Dev Patel, like his performance in the film, like in terms of like regular acting minus like the physicality of the acting, I don't think he really outshone everyone by such a crazy gap.
Okay.
I think he had more screen time, but I think
Yeah.
like his mother, amazing. The
Yeah, his mother
acting
did good. She did
woman
good.
that
Yeah,
played
she
his mother,
did.
amazing. By
The
the guy
lead.
that did not know that his name was not actually Bobby and just ran with it, great stuff. Great stuff. And
Yeah.
I don't know,
The
man.
I don't know, I keep forgetting what to call them, but the lead of the transgender people,
Mhm.
she was a day sorry, they were so because after he wakes up from the dead, they're giving a monologue about the dual god, and it's like, oh, on the one half it's destruction, on the one hand is
Yeah, one side is
devotion.
passion, the other side is destruction. Yeah.
Yeah, and like after that, they basically patch him back, talk to Dev about this, cult that they're in, or this sect that they're in. And I don't want to say they replace his mom because obviously they don't provide the
He
maternal,
provides some
love or
type
what.
of guidance that he has not had.
Yeah.
Like we see
Yeah.
that he has not had guidance or community for a while.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and it's one
And
of the
that
few
was
times
just
where you see him like actually smiling in the film.
yes, bro. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Yeah. And there's like life in his eyes. Bro, when he went back to the boxing ring when, they put the eviction notice on their front door or whatever,
Mm.
he was fighting with purpose. Unlike the other times where it felt like, oh, he was fighting to make money, but his just bro, he defeats the Cobra Man in like one punch. Bro, that that
It was,
that fight, that
it's
was gas, bro. Or one kick, bro. That was gas. And
yeah.
then he's just going and he's just going. And it's because he's followed by new purpose. He has these people have been a family to him. They provided a safe haven for him. And, it gives him new life that I don't see how Dev with the rest of the cast he could have directed that performance out of another person is what I'm trying to like get at. So
Okay.
I don't I don't have those qualms per se with it. And then obviously the final piece being the transgender people becoming their own woman king army or Black Panther. Like I'm like, okay, I was not expecting this at all. They even have their own like
I mean, they
fits
said
and their
warriors.
costumes.
So I
Yeah, they
don't know.
said they were warriors, and like Dev left a note that said, "Remember who you are. It's time to remember who you are," and that woke something up in them. But I just did not see that one come. I think I was just pleasantly surprised by the film because I went in blind. I was
Mhm.
pleasantly surprised by. I know what Dev is capable of, but um, I haven't necessarily seen some of what he portrayed in this film. I haven't necessarily seen that, and I was just glad that we got to see that side of him. And I don't. It's not a real story. It's not based on a real story, but what you had said earlier, it feels like he's telling a story that's just so important to him. Even the city is fictional, but there's a lot of parallels with real life, like real life things in India that this feels very, very personal for him. And so I'm just glad that we got to see it in this way.
I love the movie. I love it. Um, random thing. But did you notice throughout the movie we don't know his name?
The
Yeah.
casting says kid. That's just what they call him, I
Oh, I
guess.
didn't even look at the. I
But
didn't look at the casting. I noticed before the end of
I
the
looked at the
movie.
casting and you just said kid.
Yeah, I noticed
Yeah.
before the end of the movie that we don't know his name at all. And for me, I felt like that was incredibly powerful because the first time he attacks Rama and he gets
Mm-hmm.
away and everything, Rama goes to report to the religious guy, and he's like, "Oh, do you know who his mother is?" And and he was like, "Oh yeah, we've
Mm-hmm.
destroyed many kids before," or something like that. The amount of people we've, and
Mm-hmm.
towards the end, he's like, I don't remember the exact dialogue that happened, but
Yeah.
Dev Patel basically reminds him that, or he talks to Dev Patel about how he's simply like Dev is like simply one of the many people. Like he's basically,
Yeah.
even if he dies here, he's a martyr. Do you get me?
Yeah. Yup.
Like he's
Mm-hmm.
just representing the people. There will be others that rise. There will be others that will
Yeah.
stand for it. And it was just very interesting to have like that kind of moving factor where it goes beyond like one single revenge story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
I really
complex
enjoyed it.
theory.
I
It's
can't lie. I
yeah.
literally drove an
It's
hour
it
to go watch it. Man,
That's crazy. I walked straight from there's a theater near my office, so I literally just walked across the street and I wasn't even
don't
sure
worry
what
about
film I was
that.
going
Don't
to
worry
see.
about that. That's gonna be me in a couple months. For now, everyone
But
listening to this podcast, every movie that we review here that is out in cinemas, it is because I drove an hour and a half. Dune drove an hour and a half. Cinemas close to me got shut down, so this is how commitment to the pod,
the commitment to cinema.
commitment
That's
to
what it
cinema.
is. Ah,
But yeah, I
but
feel like
yeah, shout out Monkey King, Monkey Man.
shout out Monkey Man, great movie by Dev Patel. Would love you guys to watch this. Like I said earlier, I tried to slide into Dev Patel's, you know, DMs and say, "Hey, would love to have you on the pod." Don't I don't even know if I slid into the right Dev Patel's email. I just typed in on IG, first thing I saw. So maybe there's a random Indian guy named Dev Patel
Oh, fucking kill me, bro.
that I made his request, asked him to slide on the podcast. Either way,
Yeah.
hope you guys have a great episode. We're enjoying the vibes. Our next episode is going to be a
What?
summer preview. We're going to run you through our list of anticipated movies and what we think is going to be a banger versus what is not going to be a banger. But Steve, right now, like off the top
Man,
of your head,
that's gonna be hard. Off the top of my head,
yeah, tell me something,
uh,
just one that you think
just
is either going to be controversial or you think is going to be fun. You think is definitely going to be the best one.
Jesse Eisenberg has a film. I don't know if it's out yet. He has a When You Finish Saving the World. That's what it's
Ooh.
called. When You Finish Saving the World. It premiered in one of, I don't know which one, Sundance. I think it's Sundance. That's the one that's in January. By the
Mhm.
way, TIFF is about to start, so there's gonna be some new stuff flooding the TL version.
Yeah, that's true.
But When You Finish Saving the World, and I don't know what Jesse Eisenberg. I think his directorial debut as well. I don't know what he's like as a filmmaker, obviously, because I've never, this is his debut. But as an actor, he's one of those guys that, bro, I feel he's a method actor, if that still exists. And he really, really
Of
gets
course it
immersed
is.
in
Of
the
course it is.
role. Like, it still exists, but there's no real method actors. Like the ones that we have, people term them weirdos. They killed Austin Butler. Jeremy Strong had literally, the New York Times put out what's it called, the hit on Jeremy Strong, and they chastised him for months on end. So like the real method actors that we have, they get chastised by the media. People love their Timothy Chalamet and their,
Mhm.
who else is, Paul Mescal, people that are just, sad for a little bit and go back to living nothing
I
like
don't
that.
know,
But anyway.
man. I don't know, man. I just like a guy who can wake up, come do his job, go back home.
I don't know. I like people that get really, really immersed in the role, with like regardless of the opportunity. Because that's not to say Timothy Chalamet doesn't get immersed. He does get immersed in the role.
I
But
was
I feel
gonna
like
say, Paul
method.
has left us with some like incredible speeches.
Yeah, he is like, I'm not. That's what I'm not saying as a slight. I'm just
No,
saying, like,
I get what you mean.
as a method actor, like, you're foregoing whatever the opportunity cost is. What's his name? Jared Leto is another one. He gets chastised by society. I mean, granted, he's a real life weirdo, Jared Leto, but
Yeah.
I just think method actors are not as
No, I
appreciated
hear what
anymore.
you're saying, but I think
Yeah,
that interview or that question that they asked Sandra Hüller on like Zone of Interest is like press tour, where they were like,
yeah.
"Well, how did you really get into that space?" So it was like, "Oh, I acted." You're like, "What did you do to get into that?" "Oh, I acted."
Yeah,
"Oh, I don't, yeah." Because in my head, it's like I understand, but at the end of the day, it's a job, and you got training for this job.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know, man. You don't have to be weird outside the office. You get me? You don't have to
I'm
have it
just.
make you like call you a different name so that you maintain being in the zone.
Hey
But
man,
that's for Jesse
I'm just not
Eisenberg.
going. I'm just not going to hate on like people that, whatever. But he's coming out with the film, and I haven't seen the trailer as well, but I read a couple reviews, and I think he's directing this in a way that he would act. So I just think that's going to be interesting to see. So
I think
that's
that's
one.
very interesting because, well, this isn't an Apple TV review, but it's a Hulu one. If you want to brush up on some Jesse Eisenberg, I would say go watch Fleischman is in Trouble, based off the book Fleischman is in Trouble, I think. But it's an interesting movie from like the perspective of him and his co-lead, and it's a
Okay.
very, man, you either love it or hate it. And like Claire Danes does a great thing. Lizzie Kaplan is in it also. It's like a good cast. Even Josh Radnor from what's it called, How I Met Your Mother, is in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam Brody. Yeah, it's a great cast.
What did you say? What did you say it's called?
Oh, it's called Fleischman is in Trouble. It's on Hulu. It's like someone told
Okay.
me to
I'm
watch it
trying to.
last year, and when I watched it, honestly, I felt like hating them a little bit because emotional wreck.
Oh, I'm
You
adding
know,
that to my list. As soon
emotional
as you
wreck.
say emotional wreck, that's where you got me, bro.
Yeah, I know now. I know. But yeah, interestingly, I have a crazy shout I think
What's yours?
before we sign off, I'm happy that this is coming right at the end of the episode, so I can run away. But I think, man, I can't. I
Cook,
don't feel
bro.
like
Cook, bro.
saying-
Cook.
I don't feel like I should say this, dog. But I think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is gonna surprise us wild.
I don't know why people are obsessed with monkeys and monsters, bro.
It's not. Yeah, I don't know why they're obsessed with a new Godzilla movie
I
every
don't.
2 years. I'm tired. Godzilla's been around since like what, the 50s? Like, I'm tired.
People keep telling me to see Godzilla, bro. There was
Bro,
Godzilla last year.
everybody
That
wants to see Godzilla and Kong. I'm like, I will catch it on HBO, and I'm not. That's just my response. I don't even know if I'm actually catching it. Godzilla minus
I
one,
don't think.
bang, though. I will say that. I got like
That's what I've heard. Yeah, I've heard.
but Godzilla versus Kong, I'm tired. But I will say, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes feels like it's going to be great. It feels, and like, I don't know why I'm telling you this. I know, but I feel like people consistently forget how good those movies are.
Yeah.
I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the movie comes out, Rise of the Planet of the Apes comes out. We see how like Caesar and everything starts, and we're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is an interesting movie. Oh, by the end of the movie, you're like, damn, that was actually really fucking good.
Yeah.
The next one,
And
then you
time
like forget
passes.
about it after like a couple of months, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. Then you're like, you talk with someone, and you're like, what was that about? Why were we like into that? Then like the next movie comes out, or the trailer for the next one came out, and we're
then
like,
you go
oh,
back to
why are
it
they
and
making
you're
the
like,
second one with this? Like, this is kind of weird. Then
mm-hmm.
everyone goes to see it, and we're like, oh, this
like, oh my
actually,
goodness, this actually.
this bangs. Then again, the cycle, and I really think it's gonna come again, and insane. And
Yeah.
one of my
Maybe I'll catch it.
I'm definitely catching it. Which I said one of my favorite things about it.
Oh.
When they give us subtitles for the monkeys talking. Because I'm like, how did you know he said that? How did you know he said that? For real.
You are not a real person, bro. Wallahi.
It's what goes in my head. I'm like, why do I know what the monkey just said? Who translates it? How do I check their credentials?
You still kill me. On that note, it's been a great episode. Thank you for spending this 45 minutes with us. I hope you had a good time.
Hope you had a great time.
We'll be back in a few.
See you guys.